What's up, everyone? It's your boy, Ernest Dove, host of the Mets Minor League Report, part of SportsWire Radio, found on SPORTZ, wireradio.org. You can also find me on Twitter X at Ernest Dove, and also on my YouTube channel under, guess what? Ernest Dove, for all things Mets, prospects, videos, St. Lucie Mets game highlights, and more. Today's guest is a right-handed starting pitcher in the New York Mets organization who was drafted in the 2021 June amateur draft. He finished the recent 2023 season reaching the AAA level, highlighted by his outing on August 8th when he took a no-hitter into the ninth before giving up a dreaded leadoff seeing eye single, ending his night with that one single and recording 7 Ks. As a whole on the season, he pitched 124 innings, recording 138 strikeouts, with opposing batters hitting 225 against him across two levels, AA and AAA, last season. He's an upper 90s arm. He was considered one of the steals of his draft class, and he's been on the show before. So let's welcome back the one, the only Mike Vasil. Mike, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on. Excited to talk baseball, Mets, off season. So thank you very much.
I know, I love it, man. It was always a pleasure to be able to talk to you. And I guess before we go to the future, might as well go back in time a little bit more. Uh, Maybe talk a little bit about more of Mike Vasil, the pitcher. But overall, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the 2023 season. Being the upper levels guy, like, what are your thoughts on hitting the AA and AAA level last season?
Yeah, I think initially, like starting the year in Double A, um, I think I started strong. I started very strong. I think one of the reasons was so few walks. I was really attacking the zone hard. Um, I was making guys put the ball in play. I was striking guys out, and everything seemed to be going, really well. And then I got promoted to AAA in the middle of June, and just the way that baseball and sometimes the minor league life goes, the game kind of sets you back a little bit. And I hit a few bumps at first in AAA, but I think it really didn't get me down too much. I think it's just part of the experience. I think it's part of getting better. And initially, I kind of proved it to myself too that I could bounce back. And I had I feel is a really solid month of August. And then, it was able to finish the year strong with my last couple outings. So I think on a whole, when I look back at last season, I was definitely happy with how it went. I think I knew that the progress of last season wasn't always going to be just a upward trajectory, just flying all the way through. Even at my times where some from the outside might have seen it as a low, but for me it was still getting better, and that's what really made me happy. And I was able to learn a lot. I learned a lot about myself and as a pitcher last year, and I think I can't be happy enough about how it went. So yeah.
Well, yeah, and you did mention August. Like, yeah, I started to do really well in August, and then sure enough, in my intro, you had a really nice August that included almost pitching a no hitter in professional baseball. So I figured I gotta ask. I wanted to ask about that experience, August 8th, Syracuse Mets. You're on the mound, and you're just throwing zeros all the way to the end of the game. So I wanted to know your feelings on like what was going on during that game.
Yeah, it was I really do remember everything about that day up until probably around the third or fourth inning. I really can't tell you much about what happened. I think what was going on. I think I reached a level of focus where I really was just not even seeing batters getting into the box. It was righty, lefty. How do I get this guy out? And I think it also had to do with, it was just one of those special days. When I got a fastball up and in, it was just there. When I got a slider with two strikes, I was executing it. I really didn't miss many spots. I also had great defense behind me. There's always those few, whether it's a line drive or a little half. I remember there's this half check swing, kind of floater to first base, and Joe Swazi was over at first, and he made the play. But it was just these weird, defensive plays that you need. And then next thing I know, I look up, and it's the ninth inning. I got no hits. But to backtrack on that, um, I remember the outing before that. Like it wasn't, in my opinion, a great outing or whatnot. And I remember just going into this outing thinking, it's a new month. Um, just relax, just like relax and do what you know how to do. Don't give the hitter too much credit. Just fill up the strike zone, be relentless. How could it get worse? Can't get worse that if you get hit. If you get hit, that happens. It's happened before. It'll happen again. It's just baseball. And I remember then I went from the third to the fifth, just really fast. I think it was maybe the fourth or the fifth was about a 4 or 5 pitch inning. I mean, it was crazy. And then once the sixth hit, which was started to be one of my longer outings now in AAA, I remember looking up, but knowing what I was doing, but really not thinking much of it. Thinking, I can easily keep going. I can easily keep going. So I just went sixth, seventh, get through the seventh. Now I'm in the eighth. I'm starting to go through the eighth. There's this like chopper up the middle. Wyatt Young makes a great play at short, spinning play, throws the guy out at first, boom. And then I remember for the first time, and I'd never been in this situation before. I'd thrown no hitter in high school, but 7 innings. It's also a little bit different. It's also AAA. That lineup that I was facing, I think like 4 or 5 of those guys ended up being September call-ups or getting pulled up at some point. So it's a good lineup. And then I remember getting out there for the ninth, and then it was just the slightest bit of, I wouldn't say losing focus, but more just like total blinders on, not know what's going on. Gave up the hit. But at the end of the day, looking back on it, it was an outing that I'll never forget. And it was something that was very special for me. I was just really happy because I was able to do it with a lot of my friends at that point, the guys from Binghamton who'd been moved up. I had my buddy Tomas Nito behind the plate. He was calling a great game. He was very happy. And I mean, the whole day was, and that whole week, honestly, was a great week. And yeah, it was a very, very special moment.
That's pretty. It is amazing. The AAA level, like it's the highest level. Before majors, it's got to be an amazing feeling. You're also facing a lot of legit guys who are obviously getting called up, maybe even guys who had been called up before. So it's an amazing run to go on right at the end into the off season, and then as a way to combine some talk about the off season training. I talked about it when I had David Griffin on the show. So I have to talk about the almighty brand new, oh my God, the Mets have it now, the pitching lab. So I wanted to now get your thoughts and your experiences or your first taste of the brand new pitching lab in the Mets organization.
Yeah. So, I mean, first, first reaction walking in, um, I remember just kind of being like, whoa, like, what is this? Like cause I'd never done a lab before. Um, I'd never really gotten like that high of data or feedback on anything. And so you walk in, and what they do is they put all these sensors all over your body, and they start just tracking you. So you warm up, you get ready, and then you start doing all these different tests. You do tests with force plates and how much force you're exerting into the ground, and then you kind of go from there to you start to throw. And once you throw, you get up on the mound. And I threw probably about a 15 to 20 pitch bullpen. And it was, end of the year. So a lot of guys were tired. If a guy typically is throwing 95, might have been throwing 90, but guys were trying to move at full speed and get feedback. And one of the things that I really like that came from that lab is, I've always been trying to work on my lower half. As the moment I got drafted, how do we create a more efficient moving lower half to where, maybe it doesn't mean that I'm going to go from 95 to now sitting 100, but it might mean that I could average 95 much easier, and hold it longer in outings, hold it longer throughout the season. And how can we, take stress off your arm and ultimately put it on other areas of your body? And that's one of the things that came from that lab that designed for my throwing program, designed for my plyo work, so my weighted ball throwing and training, then also designed for my weight room like work and strength work. And a lot of it is hip stability, single leg strength, mixed with flexibility and mobility throughout my hips. And I think that was really, really cool for me because I think I've been able to make strides now of knowing what I need to do mechanically, but not knowing how to piece it together. And then now once I have this info and communicating with the Mets and one of the big guys has been Kyle Rogers, so communicating with him about like, okay, how do I, and quite literally his job title is integration pitching coach. And he's helping me integrate this stuff into my drill work.
Yeah.
About how do I now put it in? And I think it's been huge. I think it's been awesome. I'd love to be able to get back in to see, how have I improved or what could I, tinker with. It was just a really, really cool experience. And I think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be, especially the people working as well, knowing what they do about, biomechanics and everything. I think it's going to be one of the things that helps to continue to separate Mets player development, especially pitching development, from other orgs, but also necessarily do it our own way, do it the Met way. So yeah, it was a very, very cool experience.
I mean, it sounds amazing, and I know there's going to be some follow-ups for you guys throughout the off season, including coming up in a bit, a little bit later in January when you guys have more camps. Uh, but then, obviously, fast forward through some of the off-season camps, we might as well go ahead and jump right into spring of 2024 when you head into camp as a guy, because again, you just got drafted in 2021, but I know certain players, certain college guys, things kind of get very fast paced, especially for someone like Mike Vasil reaching AAA already, quote unquote. So, what are some of the things going through your mind heading into this camp, having now experienced full experience at AA and AAA before even showing up this year?
Yeah, I think one of the best things that could have happened for me as well as also besides getting promoted to AAA is also being around guys that have big league experience and have that have been there, that have whether it's a number of years or they've gone up and down. It doesn't really matter. It's just about seeing the way that guys operate who are at the highest level. And I think a couple of those guys, one of them, Tyler McGill has been awesome to me, and was awesome to me when he was down in AAA, and really helped me balance being relaxed and just being a human being, but also like how to go about your day, how to go about your business, how to approach outings. And one of the things that I noticed about the guys that had been in the big leagues and are major league players is they're always trying to find ways to get better as well. So I think for me it's like, don't be afraid of change and don't be afraid of I know a certain version of myself got me here, but that
Mhm.
you can always, there's always room to get better, there's always room to keep improving, to create the best version of yourself. And that's what I'm really happy about heading into camp, is I think I've made those strides. And now hopefully getting the opportunity to be around even more major league guys is getting feedback and just and seeing how they operate. And I think that's what was really huge for me, being able to get to AAA, is being around those guys. And I'm really excited for it. I'm really excited for camp. I'm excited to get an opportunity to just get down there and get going. And I'm very, very grateful for everything that's happened up until this point, to just kind of from draft to now. It really has happened fast. So, and there's a lot more to go. So
Yeah, of course. And even like you brought up, seeing guys that have been, they've tasted the show along with Tyler McGill. You did mention also Tomas Nido, who obviously is a catcher. And he was part of one of your biggest games of the entire season. So I'm sure it must have been extremely helpful to have a major leaguer, with the affiliate at the time in Tomas.
yeah, yeah, no, 100%. I mean, having a guy like that behind the plate who's caught, quite literally some of the best pitchers in all the game in all the world, um, helps, because it gives you confidence that when he tells you, a certain pitch or his ability to read a swing or a pregame scouting report of being like, if you do this and if you just focus on executing these pitches, we're going to have a great day. And, I remember a lot of times early on in my career thinking about, or these like false promises that if I just, execute, but it really is that. It's like, if you execute your pitch, throw strikes, attack the zone, attack hitters in their weaknesses, a lot of the time it's going to work out for you. Now, the other side is sometimes you do all that, it doesn't work out, but that's when you can at least go to bed at night realizing, I executed my plan today. It wasn't a result I wanted, but I know that plan and what I put together works, and I'm going to continue to trust it because it's what's been working for me. And yeah, I mean, having a guy like that is huge, and being around those guys is great, and they're great people. They're super friendly, and that definitely helps as well. So
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, to have that kind of experience. And before we start to close on this segment and the show, I wanted to get into even some of the minor league side of things with the guys because you and I were talking off air. In the years I've been doing this, I've been very thankful for a lot of the guys I've been able to talk to throughout the years in the Mets minor league system. And it just seems like there's insane, intense competition, but at the same time, every guy I've ever talked to on air or off air, they're always very supportive of each other. And as far as for all the minor league junkies and the Mets prospect, huggers like myself, we seem to find ourselves right now in this era of Mets farm system where there's a grouping of a lot of highly regarded starting pitcher quality guys. And the names that come to mind that many of us are familiar with are yourself, Mike Vasil. We have Tyler Stewart, Dominic Hamill, Blade Tidwell, and Christian Scott. Now I'm naming a bunch of names, and then guess what? They're all of you are highly regarded. All of you just happen to be now in that double A, triple A range where there's nowhere else to go. But I also want, I really wanted to get your thoughts on, is there a certain experience and a support that you get being around, this additional quality of talent at the same level, the same rotation at times, depending on where you were in the year? Like, what was that like?
yeah, I think one of the things that's very special about the group to begin with, ever since we got drafted, is the fact that we all got along very, very well from the
Mm,
beginning, very well. And I think the thing is, at least with the 21 draft class, it was, kind of the draft class that didn't have a first round pick. We didn't sign our first round pick. So I think, and that doesn't identify who we are, but it's almost,
mm,
there's no guy that thinks they're better or thinks or feels they're entitled to anything. It's not like that. It's
mm.
we're one group, we're a unit. Nobody in this group lets each other, slack or get behind or anything. We're always checking in on each other, and I think that's what makes it special. And in the years to come, that we hope as a unit as well of making an impact at the major league level. I think we all share the same vision for each other, and we all share the same goal. And I think that's something that's very rare. You don't find that a lot in sports, and I think especially in baseball, it's very, very difficult to find that because in other sports you get drafted a lot of time you're there already. You're
Yeah.
on the big squad, and you got to come up as a group or individually a lot of times in the minor leagues, and to be able to find a unit now that not only is the same position and competes with each other but is also pulling for each other is rare. And I think I I feel at least that all those guys are super supportive of each other. And Dominic Hamill told me when I was throwing my no hitter during that game, him, Christian, Blade, Tyler, like the whole team was watching the end of my game.
Mm.
As I go back and I watch their outings too, and we talk about the game, we talk about pitching, we talk about and we also emotionally support each other as well, because a lot of times, if you don't do well, it can get tough. It can get tough, and you need to be there for one another. And I think that's what's awesome, and that's what's almost beautiful about our group. It's just
Mm.
rare, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see all those guys. I'm excited to hopefully someday win in the big leagues with them, and that's always been our goal from day one. And they're the best guys. We're all friends. We all do everything together, so it's very, very special.
And honestly, it looks like there's something special brewing within the Mets organization in the farm system. Like I said, everybody listening, we're talking to Mike Vasil, who's a highly regarded pitcher who already now has AAA experience, and all the other guys that he mentioned could be at that AA, AAA level from the break of camp or at least even throughout the 2024 season. So you'll be listening to certain names and certain guys who you might be seeing very soon on SNY. So, hey, on that note, that's why I think there's some exciting times coming in the Mets organization. I know on Twitter, I talk about a lot of guys who are in the low minors that are very excited. And then here we are with Mike Vasil and some of the upper minors arms that are really highly touted. And there could be a lot of positive things coming from the 2024 season. So, hey, we'll worry about the major leagues for another time, but let's also spend the minute to think about some of the excitement with the organization because of some of the stars and prospects like Mike Vassell. Before I let you go, I just wanted, if you could take a minute or two, if there's anyone you want to kind of give a shout out to, is there anyone you want to plug, any kind of trainings or anything you want to bring up here at the end, man? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Mets player development as a whole, it's going to be hard to single out one person because they're great. They communicate really well. They create great plans. Trainers, strength coaches, pitching coaches, everyone. I guess now heading into these final weeks before camp. Thank you for helping me through this off season and being awesome. And then players wise, that group that we mentioned before, all those guys, all those pitchers. I guess hitters wise, I don't want to leave anyone out, so I can't single anyone out. I have too many friends now in the org to where if I mention one person, I don't want any hard feelings, but you know who you are, and which is basically everyone. But yeah, I mean, other than that, thank you for having me on. It's been awesome, and I'm excited for this upcoming season, and I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I mean, hey, there's always certain names. I know I can do that myself. I always have my favorites, regardless of whether they're still with the Mets organization or not. Even some other guys, I've become a big Tyler Stewart fan. I'm now an Eli Ankney fan. Uh, the 20th rounder who was like doing amazing last year. So there's a lot to talk about in the Mets organization. But so hopefully, if everyone can continue to listen to me, support the show, support SportsWire Radio, and again, you better keep an eye on Mike Vasil in the box scores. I don't know how much longer it'll be at certain levels, so you might want to start paying attention. As for me, again, thank you to everybody who listens. A couple of shout outs. I want to shout out Max Metz. I'm also trying to be part of the little writing crew at maxmetz.blogspot.com. And as far as the old Twitter X, my guy, shout out Pizza Sports Guy. If you want to follow somebody on the Twitter, on the X, go ahead and shout out and follow Pizza Sports Guy. He even has some memorabilia giveaways that he does. So he might even hook you up. Just got to start paying attention and root for the Mets. You know what? That's it for my time uh, this go around for everybody. So thank you so much, Mike, for being a part of the show again. I look forward to kind of staying in touch through the off season. Hopefully, catch a little glimpse in camp, and then hey, could be a very interesting 2024 season for you, the Mets, all the minor league prospects, and everyone we talked about. So, hey, on that note, I just want to say farewell, everybody. Thank you so much for supporting me, and good night.